everybody, it's Miss Marie, and today for STEM Thursday, or STEAM Thursday, we are going to be learning about leaves, leaf shapes, leaf colors, and then at the end I'm going to show you how to make a really cool salt crystal leaf using a silk leaf and some super saturated salt water. And it's just kind of a neat way to celebrate leaves and to look at them in a different way as almost something artistic at the same time that it is something in nature. All right, but first we're going to learn about them reading this book called Autumn Leaves by Ken Robbins. Let's see, I think he did the photographs as well. And it's by Scholastic Press. And there's some beautiful leaves already in this book. Autumn is a time to look closely at leaves. In spring and summer, the leaves are on most trees are green, but in autumn, those leaves turn different colors and fall to the ground. Some leaves just dry up and turn a dull brown, while others turn colors that are brilliant and bold, orange, yellow, red, purple, and gold, painting the landscape and changing the world. The leaves of most trees are flat and thin. Most are connected to the tree by a stem. All leaves have veins. The veins of some leaves are quite easy to see. Some leaves are shiny and some are dull. You can see the veins really clearly here on this one, the branching out. Some have shapes that are simple and some have shapes that are not. Sometimes lots of leaflets make up a leaf. There's one stem, central stem, a lot of little leaflets on there. Some are big, some are small, some are narrow, and some are wide. Some leaves are not the same on their right and left sides, like this one, the sassafras, looks like a mitten. Those are my favorites. Others have edges that are jagged, or edges that are smooth. Leaves are different on each different tree. Look at them carefully and see what you see. This is the leaves of a smoke tree. The smoke tree's leaves are shaped like paddles. The stalks of its flowers are so thin and fine that from a distance they look like smoke. And here you can see the tree, and it does kind of look a little bit like smoke. Wispy. The birch. The bark of the gray birch is white and smooth and shines like silver when it catches the light. Birch leaves have jagged edges. You see a lot of birch trees around here. The ginkgo. Ginkgo trees grew in prehistoric times. Dinosaurs once ate their fan-shaped leaves. We have one of these in the park by my house, a ginkgo, and they do look like fans. The linden. The leaves of the linden tree are rather large and shaped like, what do you think that looks like? A heart. Sassafras. Several different shapes of leaves can grow on the branches of one sassafras tree. Some even look like mittens. And if you didn't know, it would be hard to know that all of these came from the same tree. Sometimes even the same branches. The sweet gum. The leaves of the sweet gum tree are almost always shaped like stars. It looks like red stars on that tree. Hickory. There are compound leaves on the hickory tree. 5 leaflets or more make up the leaf. And the leaflets are these little smaller parts. And then there's more, and then it makes up one big leaf. The red oak. Red oak trees have pointed leaves. Oak trees come in many different forms, but they all make acorns in the fall. That's where the acorns come from, and oak trees are very common in New Jersey. Fern leaf beech. The fern leaf beech has smooth gray bark. Its leaves, when they're dry, look like question marks. And I do see some here that look a little bit like a question mark. They're kind of curled up. The cherry tree. Cherries are the fruit of the cherry tree. Some are sour, some are sweet. Cherry tree leaves are shinier on one side than they are on the other. And we have lots of cherry trees around here, though ours are all ornamental, meaning they're grown for the flowers, not for the cherries that come on them. The dogwood has beautiful flowers in the early spring. The pretty dogwood leaves are like ovals with points, and dogwood trees really are beautiful. Delicate flowers. The yellow poplar. Oh, I think I've seen these on my block too. The yellow poplar is also called the tulip tree. That's what I know it as, the tulip tree. The leaves look like little tulip flowers. Yep, that's at the top of my block. We have this one. I call it a tulip tree. Maple, I have that in my yard. Maple trees often have the brightest and most colorful leaves of all the trees in the fall. I have a Norway maple, which produces these yellow leaves. There's all different colors. And that is the end. Oh, here we go. This just explains why the leaves change colors. Green leaves make food out of something as slight as carbon dioxide and water and light. Oh, look at that, a little poem and some science. Green leaves make the kind of sugar that helps trees grow. It is made from water and light and part of the air called carbon dioxide. There is a proper word for this, photosynthesis. There are special scientific words for the chemicals that give leaves their colors. It's chlorophyll that makes them green. The yellow is from xanthophyll, the orange from carotene. The reds and purples are anthocyanin, and the brown is the result of something called tannin. When photosynthesis stops in the fall, the green part of the leaves dries up and dies. Then we see the amazing colors, the yellows and golds that were there all the time. And sometimes a bit of sugar gets left in the leaf when it dies, and that turns the leaf purple or red for a while. Sooner or later, all those colors fade to brown. Eventually, the base of the stem where the leaf is attached to the tree grows brittle. Then when the wind blows even a little, the leaf breaks off and flutters through the air to the ground, and before you know it, all the leaves are down and the trees are bare. And here you can see one that's still a little bit green. But look at that red that was underneath, and that's what the book is saying, is that that color was there all the time, but the green covered it up. When the green goes away, the red or yellow or purple or orange comes out and makes those beautiful trees. And there's a tree bare of all of its leaves in the fall. And today is a rainy day, a little bit windy out, so I think a lot of leaves are going to be falling today. And while we're thinking about all the leaves, and maybe we've collected some over the time, I think it'll be really fun to try our salt crystal experiment on a silk leaf. You could probably try it on a real leaf. I'm not sure if it'll work as well. You could even try it on a paper leaf. It will definitely work on a paper leaf if you cut one out of paper. And we're going to be doing that in just a minute. I'll show you how to make a super saturated solution of salt. That's a lot of S's. And we're going to get that to turn crystals on our silk leaves. Okay. Salt crystals that you can have to coat your leaves. I have little kits that you could pick up at the library with a mason jar and some silky leaves. And all you'll need to do is have a grown-up help you boil some water. Add some salt. I'm going to use kosher salt. You can use pretty much any salt. You can even use Epsom salt. And we're going to make a super saturated solution, which means we can't dissolve any more salt in the water. So I'm going to turn the camera down towards the stove where you can see I have about a cup of water that's just starting to boil now. I'm going to pour in a little bit of my salt and stir it and stir it, stir it. And stir it until it dissolves. And I'm going to do some more. This is about a quarter cup of salt. I'm going to add a little bit at a time and keep stirring it until it dissolves. The reason we want the water to boil, let me get that back up to a little bit of a boil, is because the hot water, in the hot water, the molecules are further apart, and that allows them to absorb more of the salt into there. And so it's going to take a lot longer until we've super saturated, which means we cannot dissolve any more water in there, any more salt in there. I'm going to add some more. It's still dissolving. And I'm going to keep doing it. You can hear me stirring and stirring it. I guess I could have used a wooden spoon or a spatula to do this, but I can see when I splash the sides, some salt is forming on the sides of the pan, but there's still some dissolving in there. So I'm going to keep on going until I cannot dissolve any more salt in here. And then I'll have a super saturated solution. I think I could still go a little bit more, even though it's still dissolving in there. This would be water that's so salty, no more salt can dissolve in there. And that is how we are going to get salt crystals to form on our silk leaves. Oh, that looks like it's about done, but I can get any more to dissolve. I'll try a little bit more. Definitely very salty water. Doesn't look like any more is dissolving. Just in case. And then we're going to let it cool. And I'm going to, I can't get anything for this to dissolve. So I'm going to turn it off and let it cool a little bit. And then I'm going to pour it into our containers. And I'll show you how to do that. Okay, I let my solution cool enough to pour it into my mason jar. It is plastic, so don't put it in there when it's still boiling hot. Now it's just a little warm. And already there are some crystals forming on the bottom. The salt is coming back together and starting to form some crystals. So I'm going to try to get them to form on here, onto my leaves. And what I've done is I poked holes in my silk leaves with a scissor. Oops. And I'm going to put the string or the yarn through the hole. I have plenty of yarn, so I can make it shorter if I need to. And I tied it on there. Maybe I'll tie a knot. It's always good practice. Okay, so then I have this tongue depressor or big popsicle stick. And I'm going to wrap the yarn around there, or you can tie it in a knot on there, however you want to do it. And I've got two leaves, and I've got this solution, and I'm going to put them in there. Come on, get in there. And the one isn't quite long enough, so let me make sure it's actually in the water, because we want to get that water to evaporate and let those crystals form on the leaves. Now you can see I have the leaves inside the water, and I'm going to let it sit over here by my window for maybe a couple days. I'm going to check it every couple hours and just see what's going on in there, but then I'm going to leave it and see if I can get those crystals to come back out of the water onto my leaves. So we'll check it again. Okay, everybody, I waited about a day and I could see that there were crystals forming on my leaves. So I rolled up the string and took them up out of the water. And here you can see, let's see, you can see all the beautiful, oh wow, there's like one hanging down there. There's like a dangly one right there. The beautiful salt crystals that have formed on my silk leaves and even on my yarn that was in the water. There's all these wonderful crystals. I really love these ones hanging off this string or something. I don't know what these are, but these are big crystals right here. And so that's it. We made a saturated solution of salt water, and then we put in some silk leaves, and they turned them into crystals. It looks almost like frost on the leaves, which is kind of neat because we're going to be seeing a lot of that this year, soon, as the colder weather approaches. And they're really quite pretty just to look at. It's just fun, and then you can actually brush some of it off if you want, just to take a closer look. You could get a magnifying glass and look even closer to see what these crystals look like under the magnifying glass. And that's it. So have fun observing the salt crystals and noticing some other things going on. Oh, wow, I can really see them right there. Some other changes going on right now as we approach fall, the colder weather. All right, I'll see you next week.